Hey everybody, Matt Johnson here. More questions than answers. After touring the crime scene where 5-year-old missing Summer Wells was last seen.
This is a very dungeon-like environment and situation. And it really gave me a sense of how trapped potentially this child was.
That's a retired detective who searched the home where Summer Wells was reported missing. And what he noticed might shock you and raises even more questions today.
I took off the plate right away that this was a total stranger abduction. There had to be somebody that had a connection to that property.
But first, do me a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hype this episode. Now, the case of missing Summer Wells. Here to help break it all down and share a little bit about his investigation into this case, we have a friend of the program, Chris McDonough, retired homicide detective, host of The Interview Room on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. You've been investigating this case for quite some time. I'm going to play part of your walkthrough of the house, but first off, how did you come to be there?
So, Matt, I was in Tennessee at the time on, believe it or not, another homicide case in Jackson, Tennessee, when this thing, the Summer Wells case, was in the news. And I ended up going from East Tennessee over to Rogersville to talk with the family to see if we could help.
So let me put it on our screen, and I'm going to be pausing it at different points to get, your reaction to things and take us behind the scenes and maybe what you notice now that you didn't notice then.
By standing here, and I got my little camera here, I'm looking at this terrain, and I'm going, holy cow, she could have there's a million possibilities here.
Yeah, there's
down there, and there's the road down there.
Yeah, that's the road. And that's my mom's house.
Okay.
Like literally,
And this right here.
Usually you can see the road because they have went through here and mowed and took down a bunch of stuff away from the power lines.
Okay.
But usually it's full up. You can't even see the road.
That day, though, how was it? Was it full up, or was it like this?
That day and a few days prior to that, they were working on this.
Okay.
So I've even come to a conclusion maybe one of them people have snatched it.
Oh, interesting.
Because they were all the way up here.
Yeah, I see those.
That's shocking to hear. Your thoughts?
Well, so in full context here, right? She had communicated to me before we even got to the property about the scenario of how Summer had just vanished. All right. And so when I got up there and she was talking and pointing down to the road and then saying, yeah, there were some tree trimming guys or people working on the power lines. I mean, she didn't really know, at that time during this conversation, if it was the tree trimmers or the power guys. I don't recall specifically, but she was saying there was a working crew down there. And so the inference to that was, there was somebody down at that bottom of that hill, and maybe, they're in play here into this abduction and disappearance. And so when I got up there, the first thing I wanted to see was, okay, what were the points of access in relationship to this property? And there are a couple of them. One, from the bottom of that hill, you could come up that hill, but it's quite treacherous, to be honest with you. And then the suspect's risk level would be so high to park down at that hill, you're going to have to take a 5-year-old girl from the top of that property to the bottom of that property and then cross your fingers there's no cars coming by to see you putting the child into the car. The second thing is, if there's a work crew down there and you go up to the top of the hill, again, snatch the 5-year-old little girl, now you have a management problem. You've got to put her in your work truck where there's a crew of people working with you. So now 4 or 5 people or 2 people, 3 people, whatever it is, have to have this master conspiracy to conceal this child as you drive away in your work service vehicles so that nobody knows about it. Okay. So those probabilities are very low in relationship to what the geographic profile or the geographic region was telling me as I stood up at the top of that hill. And so then I turned it backwards into the front of the house. Okay. And in the front of the house, it's just woods. And there's a trail that the kids, her children, ride that little mini bike that's sitting up there. And there's a video of Summer chasing the boys on that mini bike. So this was a kind of what we call a pattern of life, that the child, they're running around this, yard here with, going down the trails and coming back up on this mini bike, and Summer is running through there. Okay. Well, that turned into a narrative of, well, there's a possibility that somebody could have parked on that driveway or on the cutoff road coming up to their property, come up a dog trail, which is basically the mini bike trail, okay, go into the basement, abduct her, and then take her back down through that mini bike trail, okay, and put her in the car and take off. Okay. Is that possible? Anything's possible. Is it probable? No. And here are the reasons why. Number one, you've got to know exactly the date, the time, the moment, the circumstance that 5-year-old Summer Wells goes into her basement. Number one. And unless you have X-ray vision eyes to see through that house, there's no way you're going to know that that child's in that basement. Number two. The second thing, which is obvious, you've also got to either A, have a key to get through that basement door, or B, know for sure that basement door is going to be open to come through that basement door and take the child out of the basement. Because the only other option to come into that house is through that one door that I walked through with Candace.
To button this part up, when she's talking about that possible scenario, did investigators interview that work crew?
Yes. Okay. And yeah, TBI and everybody has been interviewed in that crew.
How long was Summer missing at this point in time?
I think about 2 weeks.
This is the scaffolding you're talking about.
Yeah, that's my. That's
okay, so she comes up, jumps up, goes right in.
Yep.
Okay. How many cats? You know what? You should have like a zoo license. You know, I'm seeing all kinds of critters, which is good. Okay, where's Summer's bed?
Oh, it's in the basement.
Got it. Okay. So what happens when she comes in? The boys are playing where?
No, the boys are actually sitting here.
Okay.
And they're actually sitting right here.
So that first room, it's like bunk beds. So do the boys sleep there? And then there's also a very large meat cooler. Is that right? Freezer?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole place was just completely disheveled. And so I wanted this is raw conversation here. And I just wanted her to free flow in terms of, conversation about where does Summer sleep? Where do the boys sleep? So yes, the boys sleep to the left as you first come through that door in what appears to be bunk beds. Right there in the back there, those are bunk beds back there. Okay. And there's a refrigerator right there to your left, that's a refrigerator. So it's a combo plate of bedroom / whatever. Right. And so this is kind of, again, I think there's a lot of disjointed personality things that you can learn here inside of this particular room here, right? It's kind of like, where do we put the kids? And then if you look at the two, when we go down into, when she said, well, Summer's in the basement, her room's in the basement. Well, it just happens to be next to a mattress on the floor, a king-size mattress on the floor that happens to be her sleeping quarters as well as her husband's sleeping quarter. So there's a mattress downstairs on one side of this, cylinder block partition. And then on the other side are 2 more bunk beds and a whole bunch of other, toys and, kind of the toy room for Summer. but that was Summer's primarily her primary area where she would be for her first 5 years of her life. And so at this point, I'm looking for, like, where's the stairwell to get to this basement? And you'll see here, another note here, Matt, is look at that photograph on the wall. See the girl there on the wall? Okay. In the distance. Yes, right there.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Candace's sister. Okay. She vanished in Wisconsin without a trace. And her case is still open to this day. And so I thought
you reference it as well, right? Did you know that ahead of time?
No, I had known that, yes, they had another family member who had disappeared. Okay? But when I saw the photograph, I wanted her to tell me more about that particular circumstance as well, if she knew. And you'll notice pretty quickly she didn't want to go there, so I didn't want to go there. I figured, okay, we'll have enough time to talk about that later on. But what really struck me was she was adamant that the boys were in the positions that they were in, and that Summer, she had this narrative rolling here that, Summer was down in the basement after the boys told Mom that, yeah, she went down into the basement. Okay. Now you've got to put your suspect hat on here for a moment, okay? The suspect has to know, meaning a stranger, has to know that Summer Wells is going down in that basement at that moment, and it's his time to strike to come through that basement door.
Okay, well, let's show how difficult it is to even get down there and what you do as an investigator. Let me put the sound back on.
Okay.
We were all locked in. Nobody could get in. Nobody could get out.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Now, who's this on up here?
Isn't that a weird thing to say?
Oh, absolutely. Nobody can get in. Nobody can get out. Yet the narrative turns to the public as it's a stranger abduction. We told you she was abducted. But yet in that particular moment, instantaneously in her mind, nobody came in and nobody went out.
It just struck me, and I couldn't wait to ask you about it. All right, let's continue.
Good
That's
catch.
my little sister that's missing.
Oh, that's Rose.
That's Rosie.
Oh, wow. Yep. Wow. And who's the guy?
That's her ex-husband.
Wow. Do you think he had anything to do with that?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to go there.
Can't say.
How's your mom deal with that?
It's difficult.
Yeah, I know.
Now that's interesting,
right?
Yeah.
That because she goes, I don't know. I can't say. It's not like I don't know anything. I just don't want to tell you about it, is what that messaging is.
For her mom's reaction to it?
Well, yeah, and her sister's disappearance.
So, okay, watching TV, where's Summer?
Summer, she was with me.
Okay, so walk me through that.
All right, well, we walked up in here and we got Josie, Wyatt, and Waylon, the boys.
Right,
Well,
you put the groceries down, right?
Yeah, well, we went back out and then we brought the groceries in and put them down. And then Mom, she took her stuff to her house, put her stuff away.
Okay,
And then, of course, me and Summer went back over, put our stuff away.
okay. You went back in.
Yeah, me and Summer went back in the house. And then we were just doing normal stuff
Okay.
around the house like we normally do. And I come out, Mom was sitting there at the time I come out and I'm standing here. I was like, what are you doing? What are you staring at? She's like, these plants, I gotta get them transplanted.
Yeah, no, the interesting thing about that is Mom says she pops right up out of the car, goes into the house, and then Grandma says, I gotta plant flowers. Okay. Well, there are no flowers there, not one. Okay. It looks like concrete inside of those flower pots with all the, cactus and all this other stuff. Okay. This is not a garden where she's planting flowers with Grandma. Okay. And the interesting thing about this is Candace projects and says, yeah, it's really fast. So it's almost like 2 to 5, maybe 10 minutes at its maximum that Summer just disappears. But in Grandma's, one of the interviews she does with the local news station, is her story is much different. Her story is, I went in after we got home, took a nap, came out. After that, that's when the flower story started. So there's a gap in their narrative. Grandma says she was in the trailer sleeping, okay? After getting home, right away, she went into the trailer sleeping, which makes sense because she went to the hospital to get some pain medication for a knee injury. That was the whole purpose of that morning. Okay. So my question was, did she pop one of those pain pills and it made her drowsy? And that would make sense that you're in the trailer having a nap, which fills in the time gap, makes it problematic. Candace makes it sound like they got home. She goes into the house. We come out, unload the groceries. Grandma says, hey, let's plant flowers. Okay. They plant flowers. She gets a piece of candy, goes in the house, disappears. Okay. It's almost like 5-10 minutes at its most. Okay. But grandma has herself inside the trailer sleeping. Okay. That's a real problem.
Let's get back in the house. I think you're going in next.
You walked into the house.
Well, I walked into here. Get up. I walked in here and them three were sitting right here in front with their eyes glued to the TV, like always. And I said, boys, where's your sister at? Well, she just went downstairs, Mom, to play. So I went over here like this, because this is where the stairs are.
Okay.
It's actually down under there.
Oh, down into her
Down into
bedroom.
our bedroom, and then hers is on the other side.
Oh, okay, in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Well, this makes sense now, see?
And then I yelled and I said, Summer, Summer. And she didn't. I listened for a minute. I didn't hear nothing.
Okay, what are you thinking at that point in time? Like, I'm not expecting stairs to be there or a ladder. What is it exactly?
Yeah, great question. So one, I was like, wow. Okay. I was totally surprised. This is like some secret entrance underneath the countertop there of some sort. I mean, it's almost, right out of World War II. Okay. And so I looked down this thing and it's like 18 to 20, maybe 24 inches at its most, okay, wide. And so immediately my mind's going, okay, if a child's going up and down this thing multiple times every single day for the last 5 years, is it possible that this could be an accident? That the child maybe tumbled down these stairs, okay? And maybe now all this other stuff is, problematic, right? For the panic phase of this thing potentially. And then because at this point, you've got to know, if you're the suspect, again, we got to put our investigative hats on and go, well, wait a minute, how the heck would this guy even know this existed? That means at some point they had to come across one another and know for sure that was Summer's bedroom down there. And so things weren't making sense at this point for me. In fact, I wanted to go outside and come around the door, and you'll hear her respond, say, no, my husband can make it, so can you. And so I figured, okay, I got to go with the play here.
Yeah, we're going to watch that. And I think that struck me as well. Why do you think it is that Candace is wanting you to enter through this hole rather than go through the door outside? Why would she want you to go that way?
Great question, because I think the door was locked. And in order for a suspect to come in, that door has to be open. And in fact, when we are down there, okay, she walks over to that door, and immediately the first thing she says is she turns to me and she goes, well, I don't remember if the door was open or locked that day. Well, I didn't ask that question.
Okay, well, let's watch. You do it reluctantly, but you're a great investigator. You get down this hole.
So I went like this, because this is how I would get down here.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to come down here or not.
Do I got to be tiny to get in there?
No, you should.
Can we come in from the other side?
Well, we can, but it'd make more sense if you went this way.
Okay, I'll follow you. Oh, man. Good grief,
No,
girl.
my 6-foot husband can fit down here. You can.
Huh?
My husband's 6 foot. I know if he could fit, you can.
This. Oh,
I'm getting lectured.
Way to go.
This is my husband's room.
Okay.
And over here, well, it's a mess again.
That's all right.
But this is where Summer and little Waylon was. Because Waylon's only 9.
Okay.
And they stayed down here. And these are all...
Okay, again, it was a ladder, right?
It was a stair. It was a set of stairs.
Oh, okay.
And
And
a
then,
set of stairs.
When you're down there, what are you thinking right now?
That I just entered the hole at Pelican Bay. Okay. You know, that when I got in there at first, and, you know, I wanted to know the child. I wanted to feel the child. I wanted to understand, you know, what the child is experiencing. In order to understand, you know, the hunter, you have to recognize the deer. And so if this was an abduction of any way, shape, or form, I wanted to put myself into the mind, into the shoes of the victim. And this is her environment. This is Summer Wells. And when you first step in there, immediately it looked like, you know, a bomb had gone off. It was smelly. It was, you know, mildew. It was disheveled. And now this is no strike against people who are suffering and who are, you know, less fortunate than ourselves. I feel blessed, you know, just in my own life, as you do and millions of other people. Okay. But these are circumstances where even if you don't have much, you could have more than this environment. And they chose not to change this environment for the child. So it was almost this feeling of oppression when you walk in there. It's like, okay, you're 5 years old and you're trying to make the best of what is in your life as a whole. And if you'll notice on the walls, they're just, you know, very dimly lit. There's reflective aluminum heat, you know, stuff that's blocking all of the light pretty much into the room. In the second room, you can see it's almost pitch black from the left forward. The only illumination is a TV and through a half door window, you know, coming through. So this is a very dungeon-like environment and situation. And it really gave me a sense of how trapped potentially this child was.
It's very tragic. And to your point, yes. I mean, especially because it doesn't appear that everyone was always employed, that maybe they could spend time cleaning and make it safer for the children. But there was also no need to have the child even sleep down there. There was room for a bed upstairs in one of those rooms, those multi-purpose rooms that I'm going to call it at this point, because they don't really have a clear definition. But let me play a little bit more as we...
All her toys, all her Paw Patrol,
all her movies. She's got a movie about the Savior.
The boys I brought back down here after she went missing because I didn't want them upstairs by themselves anymore.
Okay. And this is all her toys.
All her toys. All these toys that are down here are all hers, except for like the trucks.
Again, she's not able to reach those toys, I would imagine, which I find that strange too.
Yeah, and there was a bucket underneath, but that's a great observation, the little ones that she does pull out.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the game system. That's the boys'.
Okay.
But them are all her toys.
And she's really into Paw Patrol. I see that.
Yeah, I've been collecting from day one. And these are all her little ponies that I've bought. And then these are them girls that she likes. Them new fashion, I don't know what they are, little princesses or whatever. She's like all kinds of, here's one of them bracelets.
Oh, that's just one of them what do they call these? Oh, this is little pony bracelets.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really called, but she liked them, and so I just, every time I go to garage sale, I'd buy her what she wanted.
Okay.
You know, whenever I got a little bit of money, I spend it on the kids.
Yeah, this is her, I understand her now.
Yeah.
Even better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is really important.
What did you understand at that point in time? You may have already touched on it.
I understood that this child was living an existence of oppression and neglect. And all of the other things that come along with that potentially. And I really, my heart was just sinking. But the professionalism in me in terms of the investigative side said, okay, don't get caught up in the emotion here. Get caught up into how do we tell her story and how do we show the world what this story is all about, because, she deserves it.
Absolutely. And she still deserves to be found and for us to find out some answers about what happened. I do also notice, you are also a criminal behavior expert, and I do notice that she's speaking in the past tense when she's talking about her missing daughter.
Yeah. And my expertise is in children and what the dynamics around that. And so, my training is criminal behavior analysis with an emphasis on pedophilia. And so guys men and women who victimize children, for, their own gains. And so this was right up my lane. And as I, was learning more about her, and that's why what I was doing there was kind of a sort of what we call a victimology, right? Where I'm trying to get in patterns of life of what the child was seeing every single day, how the parents would reflect that behavior on a daily basis, et cetera, et cetera. And, so I learned a lot about Summer that day, a tremendous amount. And I came to the conclusion that there were only a couple of things, that potentially could have happened. But I took off the plate right away that this was a total stranger abduction. There had to be somebody that had a connection to that property. And, who those individuals are at this point, obviously still under investigation.
I don't recall if this was locked or not. I don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know, it's hard to but I know I did come out here and I said, Summer, because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play just for,
What's going through your mind when you're at the door?
Well, notice she volunteered whether the door was open or locked. Okay, it wasn't even a question. So that, in of itself is an indicator that there's more to do with that door and the narrative and relationship around that door. Because this was an opportunity for her, in her mind, I believe, to clarify maybe some things were said about the door being opened. And in fact, one of the first press conferences, the husband had said to the world that the back door was opened. Okay. And so that now opens up possibilities. Either she walked out that door or a suspect could have come in that door. But in this particular narrative, you notice she unlocked that door. She wouldn't let me come around into that door because in my mind, that was a pattern of life. She even said, nobody in, nobody out earlier on, right, with the kids. Okay. That tells me, and also early on in concepts here, that the family made it clear that, she would never go out there. She was afraid of bears and all this other stuff. Okay. And also there was a blue couch allegedly in front of that door during this time, which has since disappeared. So there's a high probability that door in of itself was blocked the day Summer Wells disappeared. And so what she was doing there was creating this narrative to say, I could be wrong. Okay. Meaning, is there something more to this I could be wrong that the authorities should investigate and explore even deeper? And that's where the first, contacts with them, the family or whoever the reporting parties are, is critical.
What are the scenarios that are still likely?
Well, the most likely are, a few, right? There's just primarily three. Personally, I don't think this is a stranger abduction. The risk level for the stranger is way too high. And then, of course, we take into the other considerations about timing, knowing exactly, where that child was going to be. So that leaves us to the second one, potentially the accident theory. Could she have gone and fallen or something happened at the house and then the panic, strikes the parents, and then there's this, movement to conceal her. And the third is just what you said. Is this a known individual to the family that was there that day? And that there's some, suspicious activity taking place. Is there something along those lines in of itself? Okay? This is not a random abduction. 5-year-olds do not disappear out of basements in their own home. It just doesn't happen. It's like Nancy Guthrie. 84-year-old women don't disappear out of their bedrooms. Well, this is the exact same type of scenario, just change the age. And so I think those are the three. I mean, there's a lot of factors that you could also consider from an investigative analysis aspect where, Child Protective Services had been involved, long before she ever disappeared. She was about ready to go to school. Are there some things in that lane that the parents were worried about? And so there's a lot of other considerations, but I think the most logical one right now is you have to stay at the house. Do not leave the property. The child could have left from the property by somebody else, maybe known to the property and or the parents. This is a family that their children were taken away from them by the state of Tennessee, and they lost all parental rights and given up for adoption to other families and foster care as well. So these were abused children that the state of Tennessee came in and said, hey, we need to protect these kids. And this was post, by the way, after Summer's disappearance. So now we have to say, okay, is there a relevance to Summer's disappearance with the information that everybody knows?
Well, I certainly appreciate your insight and your investigative work on this. I know that we both just hope that we get answers soon and Summer gets justice.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you very much.
Little 5-year-old Summer Wells went missing. She vanished without a trace from her Tennessee home back in June of 2021. And someone out there knows something. So please do me a favor, share this video so that we can help get the word out. If you have any information that might be helpful, call the FBI, call Crime Stoppers, call 1-800-TBI-FIND, and you can deliver information there. I have more information in the video section of this YouTube channel. Chris McDonough was boots on the ground. He's the retired homicide detective who I interviewed. He has a lot more videos on the subject on the interview room. I have a link in my show notes. And while you're here, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe. I'll keep you posted on this case and others. In the meantime, take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.